Jack Caglianone put on a 2-homer, 4 RBI clinic to headline a wild Saturday around the majors, while aces Jarrett Cole and Chris Sale dueled it out in a Yankees-Braves nail-biter. The Yankees held off the Braves 5-4 in a tightly contested battle between two of the game's premier arms. Then Rice and rookie George Lombard Jr. each went deep for New York, while Ronald Acuna Jr. answered with a home run of his own for Atlanta, part of a night where Acuna extended his hitting streak to 7 straight games. Jarrett Cole was outstanding for the Yankees, striking out 9 over 7 innings to pick up the win, while Atlanta's Chris Sale matched him strikeout for strikeout with 8 over 6 innings in a losing effort. New York's speed game was on full display, too, with Jose Caballero, Spencer Jones, and Austin Wells each swiping a bag. David Bednar slammed the door with a 1-inning save to seal it. Despite Sale's gem, the Braves bullpen couldn't hold the 1-run margin, and Acuna's blast wasn't enough to overcome the Yankees' balanced attack. It was a game that had everything: power, dominant pitching, and speed on the bases, and New York came out on top thanks to timely home runs from Rice and Lombard Jr. and a lockdown performance from their closer. The Athletics pulled away from the Red Sox for a 7-3 road win, powered by home runs from Tyler Soderstrom and Henry Bolt. Soderstrom's blast came as part of a big night for him personally. He's now hit safely in 7 consecutive games. On the mound, Gage Jump was dominant, striking out 11 over 6 innings to earn the win, and Hogan Harris closed things out with a 1.1-inning save. Boston's offense wasn't silent. Jahmai Jones went 3 for 5 and swiped 2 bags, while Nick Sawgard also collected 3 hits, but the Red Sox couldn't overcome the deficit. Jones' 2-steal game made him one of the day's top fantasy performers on the basebats. Oakland countered with its own speed as Lawrence Butler stole 2 bases of his own and Jeff McNeil added another. With Jump racking up strikeouts and the Athletics getting run support from Soderstrom and Bolt's power, Boston's multi-hit efforts from Jones and Sawgard ultimately weren't enough to close the gap in a game that saw 8 combined steals and 2 long balls decide the outcome. The Marlins blanked the Angels 7-0 behind a dominant start from Sandy Alcantara, who struck out 8 over 7 scoreless innings to pick up the win. Miami's lineup did enough offensively to back him up, spreading hits throughout the order with contributions from Griffin Canine, Heriberto Hernandez, Jacob Marcy, Javier Sanoja, Xavier Edwards, Owen Casey, and Otto Lopez, all reaching base safely. The Angels, meanwhile, managed only a handful of hits and never got anything going against Alcantara's dominance, with Denzer Guzman, Nalan Janiel, Wade Meckler, and Tyler Heineman among the few Los Angeles hitters to reach base. It was a complete, workmanlike win for Miami. No home runs, no flashy individual stat lines, just a shutdown pitching performance and a lineup that did just enough to make it stand up. Alcantara's outing was the headline of the afternoon, and the Marlins cruised from there. Toronto outlasted Philadelphia 7-5 in a slugfest at Citizens Bank Park. Bryce Harper and Trea Turner both went deep for the Phillies, but the Blue Jays answered with home runs from Nathan Lukes and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Lukes had the game of his life, going 3 for 6 with 2 RBIs to help power the Toronto offense. Aaron Nola struck out 8 over 5 innings for Philadelphia, but wasn't around for the decision. Louis Varland picked up the win for Toronto with 2 scoreless innings out of the bullpen, and closer Lazaro Estrada locked down the save. Bryson Stott added a stolen base for the Phillies, but it wasn't enough to overcome 4 combined home runs in Luke's big multi-hit performance. With both lineups trading blows all night, it was Toronto's bullpen that ultimately made the difference, holding firm after Varland's strong relief outing to secure the road win over a Phillies club that got the long ball production but not the pitching to match. The Pirates blanked the Mets 9-0 in a lopsided home win. Brandon Lowe went deep for Pittsburgh, and Jake Mangum turned in the day's best individual line, going 3 for 5 with an RBI while also swiping a bag. Bubba Chandler was excellent on the mound, allowing no runs over 6 innings with 5 strikeouts to earn the win. Ronnie Simon added a stolen base of his own as the Pirates ran the bases aggressively throughout. New York's lineup managed a few hits from Francisco Alvarez, Francisco Lindor, and Luis Robert Jr., but never threatened to get on the board against Chandler and Pittsburgh's pitching staff. It was a complete team effort for the Pirates' power from Lowe, A big multi-hit day from Mangum, sharp starting pitching from Chandler, and aggressive base running that added up to a lopsided shutout win over a Mets team that simply had no answers all afternoon. Nationals rolled past the Reds 8-2 at home. Eugenio Suarez provided Cincinnati's lone highlight with a solo home run, but it wasn't nearly enough to keep pace with Washington's offense. Clayton Beeter picked up the win for the Nationals with a scoreless inning of relief, and Jorbit Vivas chipped in a stolen base. Washington spread its offense around the lineup with Abimelec Ortiz, C.J. Abrams, Andres Chaparro, Dylan Cruz, Dalen Lyle, Jose Tina, Jacob Young, and Keibert Ruiz all picking up hits. The Reds, outside of Suarez's homer, struggled to generate much traffic against the Nationals' pitching, with only Sal Stewart, Dame Myers, Noelvi Marte, and Hector Rodriguez managing to reach base. It was a routine, one-sided win for Washington, who got contributions up and down the order to cruise to the 6-run victory. Jack Caglianone put on a show as the Royals beat the Cubs 6-3, going a perfect 4-for-4 at the plate with 2 home runs and 4 RBIs, the single best individual performance of the day anywhere in baseball. Caglianone's big game also extended his hitting streak to 7 consecutive games, making him one of the hottest hitters in the sport right now. Chicago got a solo home run from Ian Happ, but it wasn't nearly enough to keep pace with Caglianone's onslaught. Seth Lugo battled through 6 innings, allowing 3 earned runs while striking out 5 to pick up the win, and Nate Pearson closed it out with a scoreless save. John Rave added a stolen base for Kansas City as the Royals controlled the game from start to finish. For fantasy managers, Caglianone's 2-homer, 4 RBI explosion is exactly the kind of streaming-worthy performance that turns heads on a Saturday slate, and paired with his ongoing hit streak, he's quickly becoming a must-watch bat. The Cubs got at-bats from Michael Conforto, Tyrone Taylor, Michael Busch, Carson Kelly, and Nico Horner, but Happ's homer was their only real firepower against a Royals team that simply had the day's best player on the field. The Brewers edged the Twins 4-3 in a close one at home. Bryce Turang led the way offensively, going 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs, and he also added a stolen base along with teammate Brandon Lockridge. Aaron Ashby picked up the win with a scoreless inning of relief, and Trevor Megill slammed the door with a save to preserve the 1-run victory. Minnesota got a strong game from Luke Keeschall, who collected a hit to keep his hitting streak alive at 7 straight games, along with contributions from Josh Bell, Ryan Jeffers, Ryan Cradler, and Royce Lewis, who also stole a base. But the Twins couldn't quite complete the comeback, falling just short against Milwaukee's bullpen. Turang's multi-hit, multi-RBI game was the difference maker, and with Ashby and Megill combining to shut the door late, the Brewers were able to hang on for a narrow win in a game that stayed tight from start to finish. The Padres edged the Astros 3-2 in a tight pitcher's duel. Jackson Merrill went deep for San Diego and also stole a base, while Taylor Trammell answered with a solo shot for Houston, but it wasn't enough to overcome the Padres' pitching. Michael King was excellent for San Diego, allowing just 1 earned run over 6 innings with 6 strikeouts to pick up the win, and Mason Miller closed it out with a save. Jake Cronenworth also swiped a bag for the Padres. The bigger story for Houston was what didn't happen. Yordan Alvarez's 7-game hitting streak came to an end, as he was held off the base paths in the loss. Isaac Paredes, Jose Altuve, Christian Walker, and Yainer Diaz all picked up hits for the Astros, but with Alvarez cold and Trannell's homer standing as the only real power, Houston couldn't string together enough offense to back a competitive pitching effort. San Diego's combination of Merrill's homer, King's strong start, and Miller's save was enough to hold on for the 1-run win. The Tigers blanked the Giants 8-0 on the road in a game that was over early. Jackson Jobe was sharp on the mound, allowing no runs over 5 innings with 4 strikeouts to earn the win. Detroit's offense came alive with hits from Zach McKinstry, Riley Green, Eduardo Valencia, Javier Bees, Kevin McGonigal, Spencer Torkelson, Max Clark, and Dylan Dingler spread throughout the lineup, giving Jobe all the support he needed. San Francisco, meanwhile, was shut down all afternoon, managing only a couple of hits from Ediz Leonard and Willie Adams and never seriously threatening to get on the scoreboard. It was a thorough one-sided win for Detroit, no home runs needed, just a strong start from Jobe and a lineup that got contributions from nearly every spot in the order. The Giants' offense simply never got untracked against Detroit's pitching, and the Tigers cruised comfortably to the shutout victory. The Rockies outslugged the Cardinals 8-6 on the road, powered by a huge day from Jake McCarthy, who went 4 for 5 with 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases, a rare 5-tool explosion that made him one of the day's top fantasy performers in 2 different categories. Louis countered with a home run from Jordan Walker and a strong multi-hit game from Ivan Herrera, who went 3 for 5 with an RBI. Parker Mushinski picked up the win in relief for Colorado, and Jordan Romano closed it out with a save. The Rockies also ran wild on the bases, with Cole Carrick and Kyle Caras each stealing a bag to go along with McCarthy's 2 steals, while Jose Furman swiped 1 for cent. Despite Walker's homer and Herrera's big afternoon at the plate, the Cardinals' pitching couldn't contain McCarthy, whose 2-homer, 2-steal performance was the headline of an 8-run offensive outburst that carried Colorado to the win in a game that saw 14 combined runs and constant action on the bases. Jacob deGrom was dominant as the Rangers beat the Orioles 5-1 at home, striking out 9 over 5 innings to pick up the win. Corey Seager backed him up with a home run, and Baltimore's Jackson Holliday answered with a solo shot of his own, but it wasn't enough to make a dent in deGrom's outing. Texas got contributions throughout the lineup, with Jake Berger, Austin Wynns, Ezequiel Duran, and Brandon Nimmo all picking up hits to support their ace. Baltimore managed a few other hits from Tyler O'Neill, Pete Alonso, and Christian Encarnacion Strand, but couldn't string together enough offense against deGrom's strikeout-heavy performance. With deGrom racking up 9 punch-outs and Seager providing the power, the Rangers cruised to a comfortable 4-run win, holding the Orioles lineup largely in check outside of Holliday's homer. The White Sox topped the Guardians 6-3 at home, getting a home run from Munetaka Murakami to help fuel the offense. Cleveland countered with 2 homers of its own, from Angel Genao and Rhys Hoskins, but it wasn't enough to overcome Chicago's pitching. Anthony Kay was solid for the White Sox, allowing 2 earned runs over 6 innings with 4 strikeouts to earn the win, and Grant Taylor closed it out with a save. Luis Angel Acuna added a stolen base for Chicago. The Guardians got hits throughout their lineup from Genao, Chase DeLauter, Travis Bazzana, Brian Rocchio, Joe Adell, Stephen Quinn, Angel Martinez, and Hoskins, but 3 combined home runs from Cleveland weren't enough to keep pace with a balanced White Sox attack that got just enough offense to support Kay's strong start and Taylor's shutdown finish. Dodgers edged the Diamondbacks 2-1 in a tense pitcher's battle in the desert. Kyle Tucker's home run proved to be the difference, providing the offense Los Angeles needed to escape with the road win. Edwin Diaz worked a shaky inning, allowing an earned run, but still picked up the win, and Jack Dreher locked things down with a save to close it out. Andy Pages added a stolen base for the Dodgers. Arizona got hits from Tim Tawa, Nolan Arenado, Geraldo Perdomo, Gabriel Morno, Corbin Carroll, and James McCann, but couldn't come up with a big blow to match Tucker's homer. It was a low-scoring, tightly contested affair that came down to a single swing from Tucker and a shutdown bullpen effort from Diaz and Dreher, allowing the Dodgers to escape Arizona with a narrow 1-run victory. The Rays stole a 3-2 win on the road against the Mariners despite Josh Naylor's huge night. Naylor went 3 for 4 with 2 home runs and 2 RBIs for Seattle, one of the best individual performances of the day, but it wasn't enough to overcome Tampa Bay's pitching and speed. Victor Mesa Jr. answered with a home run of his own for the Rays. Steven Matz picked up the win with 2 scoreless innings, and Brian Baker closed it out with a save. Tampa Bay ran wild on the bases, with Richie Palacios, Chandler Simpson, and Cedric Mullins all swiping bags, while Naylor added a stolen base of his own for Seattle. Naylor's 2-homer game makes him one of the headline fantasy performers of the day, but even his power surge wasn't enough, as the Rays' pitching staff and aggressive base running were enough to hold off the Mariners late and escape Seattle with a 1-run win. Ronald Acuna Jr. kept his hot streak alive with a homer, running his hitting streak to 7 straight games, while Jack Caglianone matched that mark with a monster 4 for 4, 2-homer night of his own. Luke Kershaw also extended his own streak to 7 games for the Twins. On the flip side, Yordan Alvarez's 7-game hitting streak came to a screeching halt in Houston's loss to San Diego, snapping one of the sport's hotter active runs. Fantasy managers had plenty to work with on Saturday. Jack Caglianone put up a 2-homer game for Kansas City, and Josh Naylor matched him with 2 long balls of his own in Seattle. Jake McCarthy was the biggest riser of the day, going deep twice and swiping 2 bags for Colorado in the same game. Speed was on display elsewhere too, with Jahmai Jones and Lawrence Butler each stealing 2 bases in Boston's game against Oakland, exactly the kind of stat-padding performances streaming and speed-needy fantasy rosters look for. That's a wrap on today's Action. Hit subscribe so you never miss a recap of the next day in baseball.